Joey, we're not even going to show the ladder before your first crack. This must be something special.
Well, it revolves around the ladder because what a season I think we are having and what a season we are in for, because this is the most open premiership race I think we have seen coming towards the halfway mark of the year. It is absolutely fair to say right now that there are somewhere between 6 to 8 teams that could win this premiership. And the top 8 is showing that. It was billed as the weekend with the top 8 teams playing each other. That would give us a bit of an indication. And to be fair, 3 of the outsiders in those games won those matchups, which has left it wide open. And with Collingwood back entering that premiership race, it is as wide open as maybe since the 2016 season, which ironically is the year that the Western Bulldogs came from 7th to win the premiership, because they were 7th with 15 wins, 15-7, and a really healthy percentage, which most other years would get you into the top 4.
So that gets forgotten a bit.
That does get forgotten, how strong a year. So that top 7 were elite and could all win it. And I think we're going to have something similar at the end of this year, because whichever way you want to look at this top 8, there are going to be at least 2, maybe 3, even potentially 4 really strong sides that don't finish in the top 4. And I think you can confidently say right now, with where we stand at round 9, any of those top 8 teams could beat each other on any given night. So on prelim night right now, you couldn't confidently say if any of those matchups and machinations played each other, who would win. Now, there's still a lot to play out, and we're going to learn more about injuries and who's home ground advantage and all those sorts of things. But I think it's lending itself to be one of the great seasons. And I think this will be only the second time in this century that a team from outside the top 4 can win the premiership. And we've only had 2 other teams make a grand final. This could be the next year that we see it. I think absolutely some strong teams are going to be outside that top 4, and someone will get in a roll and can win the flag from 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
Sydney are the clear standout team at the moment, aren't they, with only just the 1 loss. And that, ironically, that was against Richmond, who are the 17th place team. But the Cats and the Giants, who are the early front runners, they've both slipped back.
You get mount a case that there's a query on every one of those teams. I mean, Sydney, do they have McCartan or not at the pointy end of the year? Geelong, is Dangerfield up healthy and rolling?
And Hawkins.
Essendon, are they still playing the same footy? We'll get to them in a minute. Melbourne, will they score? Who will be their nominal forward? Will it be Petrarca? Will it be Petty? There's a question mark on every team. That's why sometimes you've got to stop and just say, what an amazing season it's already been.
We were at Marvel yesterday, Kingy, which is where you're cracking in.
Yeah, I am. And a few weeks ago after round 4, I was harsh on Essendon and I thought they were a mess defensively. And I thought this is more of the same. What we've always seen with Essendon, they can move it, they can win it, they can do some things. But when the opposition have the footy, next to useless. They'll rank 16th at that stage on all of our metrics. But this version of Essendon, finally, this version of Essendon, over the last 4 to 5 weeks, is the most defensively sound version of Essendon I've seen for a long, long time. And you have to give credit to the coaching staff, the playing unit, that clearly were working through some teething issues over the first month of the season. And to me, this model gives them the best chance to win finals, to win a final firstly, get that monkey off the back and then get rolling. We all know the 7,000 days plus that they've gone without winning a final. But you look at what they've been able to do. The Dogs, they held to 67 points, Crows to 75. Pies for the first half. They smashed them in the first half without the footy. OK, the Pies come back in the second half and it was a draw. Don't worry about the Eagles game too much. But they were able to stop the best offensive ball movement team in the competition yesterday. And it wasn't just the fact that they kicked 62 points, only the Giants. It was the way they did it. Ben Mackay behind the ball, everything fed off him, and all the positioning that was made around him just gave them that stability and that surety. They had pressure on clearances. We'll get to all this later on with the vision, but they completely shut down the most lethal ball movement program in the AFL right now, and I think you have to recognise it. It's a big if. It's a massive if, right? But if they can keep this defensive model intact, and they've got Ridley to come back, arguably their best defender, then away they go. Who knows what the limit is and who knows what the scope is for this group. We were told to be patient. Don't be patient anymore. The patience is over, baby. It's time to roll. 8 years lasted about 8 weeks.
And the draw they've got to come, I think North Melbourne, Richmond, there it is there, and the Gold Coast, they'll be sitting top 2. They will be top 2 after 12 rounds of football, you would expect. I mean, I don't think they should be dropping. Definitely not those next 2. The Gold Coast game is going to be a challenge, but if they are sitting top 2 at the halfway mark, they're absolutely playing finals, and they are a genuine chance to finish in that top 4.
They've always beaten up on those teams. So I'm not worried about who they're playing. It's more what they're doing and how they're executing the plan and the full buy-in. So, a lot of Essendon supporters are excited at the moment.
They don't need any encouragement. I was driving out of Marvel. There was horns going off. There was scarves.
Let them go.
It was loud, wasn't it?
It was loud, yeah.
I had to join the song with the car next to me to change lanes. So I found myself singing their theme song, which was annoying enough.
I could hear the Essendon bands. It sounded like to me that they had real pride in their team. And I said to the players, that's as good a reward as you can get. That's what the players should walk away most satisfied with.
And here comes the siren. It's time to rethink the Bombers in 2024. It's time to take them seriously. The success-starved masses of Essendon fans now have something to believe in.
They are certainly up and about. They've taken the scalp of the Giants, and despite that percentage of 98, I think it's the first time Swamp mentions a team's third on the ladder since round 13, 1997. A team's had a percentage of under 100. That's what the Bombers, but they've got the points, as we discussed early. And the Giants have now lost 3 of their last 4. 2 of them at Marvel, and both times they've been ahead at half-time, so a bit to contemplate. But as you talked about earlier with the Bombers, there's a lot to like about the way they're playing.
Yeah, you have to see it to authenticate and believe it. And I just like what they're doing between the arcs. And if you can win the ball back closest to your goal as possible, but not too close, not to be the front half team totally, but this sort of area here, and this is where Ben Mackay was outstanding yesterday. 14 intercept marks they took between the arcs. They've only had 2 better results than that in the last 5 years of football. And this is what you pay for. When you go and get Ben Mackay, this is what you want. Hogan kicked a couple on him early. We did the game, and you thought, oh, look out, this is problems. Do they need to make a change? Redmond got involved. Heppel was terrific. Nick Martin's another one that just keeps roaming across and assisting. And they're on a run now. And they're on a run off the back of this defensive integrity, so you have to love it. We'll skip forward to the pressure they were able to put on off the back of stoppage. I thought it all went hand in glove. Their ability to intercept is because they put this sort of heat on. Merritt first, Parrish second, bang, force them into a dump kick. Back to your numbers, the holding defenders, and that's where they were able to go to work and then counter punch at no cost. Here, you look there, that's the tsunami every day of the week. Flick 1 handball, flick 2 handballs, gone. They were able to recover and stay in the fight. Cox was enormous there. Parrish's defensive work is undersold. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. They had their highest pressuring performance for the season. Look at it, and it's you could feel it at the venue, couldn't you? You can feel the energy in the Bombers players. So their pressure was 195 for the game, 204 for the half, and it had an impact. The Giants felt the pressure of Essendon, and they couldn't handle it.
Even in that vision, you could see Guelphy with Whitfield.
Yeah.
And, I mean, from a Giants point of view, we've seen Whitfield now. I mean, it's nothing new. He had that attention before. But if you stop Whitfield, does that go a long way to stopping that?
100%. We spoke about it before. The Sydney game, he starts a lot of the tsunami. He called him the earthquake because he starts the tsunami for the Giants off half-back. So teams have now identified that and trying to take away that influence.
Yeah, and they're kicking goals on him. That's the bigger problem. It's not just stopping him, they're kicking goals. Got 3 Guelphy, which is unbelievable. So when you have a look at what it did to their scoring profile, they're the number 1 team at being able to move the ball out of the back half to score. So round 0 to 7, you can see there. Most damaging team at clearance, most damaging team from intercept. And the last 2 weeks, it's gone. So they've left this club in a bit of trauma. I think the Giants will be re-evaluating all their methodology. Have we got this right? Are we too aggressive? Are we aggressive
Really,
enough?
you think that's... Because he's very confident in his system, Adam Kingsley.
Yeah. Scores, so strike rate from intercept, second lowest in the competition. Like that's not them. That's not getting you to finals. Don't worry about winning flags. If the last 2 weeks holds, they'll just dissipate. They'll just fritter away a season. So they've got a lot of work to do. I know they've had some injuries and have been upset over the last few weeks, but their form across a 4-week period has dropped right away. Look at that. It's not just the winning and the losing. They've lost their method. They've lost their mode. So they've got some work to do. There's no doubt about that. I want to also have a look at the big ruckman and have a chat with you guys about the value of grabbing the ball out of the ruck and then quickly kicking it or quickly getting rid of the ball. Now, he's got options here. He can handball that ball to the free player on his right-hand side, but he dump kicks it. Big Brigsby. So you get to the end of the game and you say, he's had 10 clearances. He must have been pretty good, right? 7 of them are ineffective. And you just wonder, is this the same conversation that Collingwood had to have with Brodie Grundy a few years ago? There, pop the handball. You got Canelio right next to you.
Yeah.
One of the most damaging mids in the comp right now. So I'm putting it on watch. These ruckmen who grab the ball, you're in the scope.
Is there another one, Jerry?
I'm smiling because I had Rowan Marshall in the gun. It didn't make the final cut because he did exactly the same. Rowan Marshall had 12 clearances. He grabbed it out 11 times. Only 2 of them were retained by St Kilda.
Yeah.
So they were just quick little kicks that went straight back to Hawthorn. If a midfielder did that, we'd be potting the midfield saying that's horrible clearances. Because they're rucks, we sort of look at their numbers and think they were good. So Rowan Marshall's in the gun as well. I'm glad you brought that up.
So now there's 2 rules with a ruckman. Don't handball to a ruckman. Don't let him kick it.
I hope Wolsey's watching because that's his old rule. Don't handball to a ruckman.
Good one.